always large parts of the explanation of anything that we can't manage. Too complicated. Human beings can't do that. Never have, and don't do it now either. It's what a whole list of thinkers meant by the term overdetermination. In other words, things that happen, anything, are shaped by so many other things going on that the so many is handled by the mathematical symbol infinity. And you're not going to grasp infinity. That's the whole point of the symbol of infinity. It's the other side of what you can do. The best example I know of is a painter that I love, a Belgian painter named René Magritte. And if you'll notice, almost every painting he did is mysterious. He wanted people to understand that everything in the world includes and is wrapped in mystery, whether it's a bowler hat or a cane or an upside down umbrella or light and dark reversed in a picture. The world is full of these mysteries and you don't overcome them. The arrogance of the human experience to imagine we're going to control nature or we're going to dominate or we're going to understand. It is a grabbing after religion. God made everything, so he understands, or she, or it. And the human being, once they eject God, want that for themselves. It's not available. God was invented because it's the other side of the boundary of what we can do. Can do everything. It's Hegel's notion. Everything is with its opposite because it's bounded from that which it is not. That's how you define what something is. So it's other, what it is not, is part of its own definition. And if you understand it, then you know that we always create these opposites. It's part of how we grapple with the irreducible mystery. That's what Magritte does. He wants us to see it. Yeah, I think the notion that it's catastrophic is a product of a desire not to face the level of problems that this society has. To be cutesy, Trump is a form of escapism. It's a form of avoiding, evading what the real issues are. So is Biden. So are Kamala Harris. These are Punch and Judy shows. They're a place where you take children who might be frightened by all kinds of real issues in their lives and give them a time off. Give them something to focus on, these interesting characters who are beating each other with sticks in a safe place that will be followed by an ice cream cone. This is very important, very useful. It's a way of calming a population that's getting increasingly nervous. Right below the surface is the nervousness, because it doesn't go away. The Punch and Judy show changes nothing once it's over. It distracts, and that's significant, and it has consequences. But it's also over, and pretty quick. And so was Trump, and so was Biden, and so will be whoever wins again. So for me, the most important things about these elections are precisely the desperate way in which this society does not want to face its existential problems. It is, it's Hegelian only in the sense that it was a set of myths that enabled the rise of the United States as a society. And then the society forgets an ancient lesson. Be careful of the myths you ride up on, because at a certain point, they will take you down. And if you don't get that, and if you don't think about it, and if you don't worry about it, Still going to happen. Your best hope is to understand it. That we're back to square one. You try to understand what is the history suggesting to us might be at the root. Look, if you go now, and many people have noticed this, the level of vitriol, of rage, of bitterness in our internal politics is a bit remarkable. Republicans and Democrats look at each other now, call each other names, call each other threats to democracy, whatever they can think of to demonize the other. There are large parts of this country where if you are a Democrat, you are considered evil with that word. And ditto the other way around. So what's going on? Well, this used to be the discourse, which Americans don't yet want to understand. This used to be the discourse of the United States versus others. The others were savages. The history of this is stunning. Europeans come to this continent, literally ethnically cleanse the indigenous population out of existence, kill them on a scale that has hardly been equaled by the millions, and refer to them as savages. That's an achievement. Who's the savage? If you go, the first time I encountered this was in a little town in Massachusetts called Deerfield, or Old Deerfield. It's a reconstruction of what that little town looked like in colonial America. And so the houses are redone to look like they did then. Very nice job. It's a tourist thing. You go there and you look at that. And in front of each house is a plaque that explains something about this house. It was inhabited by the Yipsy Doodle family or whatever it was. And then description. On the 18th of October of 1702, the savages attacked. I remember the first time I saw this, the savages. You come in here, destroy everything these people have, and they are the savages. Now fast forward, the Cold War. Stalin is a savage. The Stalinists are the... What the hell is going on? What are you doing? Putin is now Stalin, rewritten, new spelling. But that's wrong. That's childish. Those people are trying to solve their problems. They do it in some ways that we find interesting, some ways we find horrific, which is kind of normally how it goes. What's this demonization? What? It was allowable for the indigenous people. It was allowable for our Cold War enemies. But they were all outside. Those chickens have now come inside. And we now do that to each other. Very predictable. But the American people have no way of coping. They don't understand what to do. Every day I read, we're not being very nice to one another. Yeah, hello, welcome to the club. What did you think? It would always be going outside? It would never turn in? There's no precedent. History is full of the opposite lesson. Therefore, should have been ready for that. Should have wondered about it. Should be able to see it now. No. Denial. On both sides you hear, we want to get back after this election to being what? We had a temporary period after World War II where this country could afford a government that didn't matter. A little Republican year and a few Democrat, who cares? Half the population doesn't vote, there's no point for them. What's the difference? Answer, not much. Most of the trends as an economist that I watch go across Republican and Democratic administrations. Doesn't make any difference. Not much, a little, sure, but in the larger scope of things, not much. So what I'm leading up to is, I say irrelevant in that sense. Yeah, we go back and forth. Both of them are hoping that they can continue, especially the Democrats. Trump is a little bit different, so he wants to do his crazy business. Kamala Harris comes out of a different tradition, and she wants to get back to normalcy, you know. You could even see it the other night in the vice president. One of them is trying hard not to be the chameleon that he is, Mr. Vance. And the other one just wants to be Mr. Nice Minnesota. You can see, I'm nice Minnesota. Vance is trying to look like he's also a nice guy. Because that's part of Republicans too. They want to keep it going, but they can't because it's over. And that thought that it's over, that thought is so frightening that it can't be discussed. It can't be debated. It cannot be allowed. Neither candidate says a word about it. The whole rest of the world is talking about it, and in this country, nothing. That's a sign, as loud a sign as imaginable. The silence here, in the classic term, speaks volumes. The rest of the world is watching the decline of the American empire. We're living it and cannot speak it. And this campaign is a study in, there's that moment, and there's a scene in it where Marty Feldman, a British actor, is playing a man who has what is called a hunchback. He has a deformed back. And he's a servant. He helps young Frankenstein. He's helping young Frankenstein descend from a coach. And as he helps him, the young Frankenstein inadvertently puts his hand on the guy's back, thereby touching his protrusion. And he's very apologetic. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so terribly sorry of touching your hump. And Feldman looks up at him, and the movie captures it. What hump? What hump? That's how he handles his hump. What hump? When I say declining empire, that's how America handled it. What declining? Who are you talking about? It's obvious who I'm talking. The whole world is discussing this. I go around, I do a lot of work in other parts of the world. That's what they're asking me to talk about. But here in the United States, no one asked me to talk about it. It's beginning now. I'm exaggerating. It's beginning. But up until now, and in the official discourse of this society, nothing. Nothing from Kamala Harris, nothing from Donald Trump. It's a non-idea. Goes nowhere, not brought up. No reporter asks them about it. No. It's a more powerful censorship, as all cultures have understood, than any dictate that says thou shalt not speak. Then you're already in trouble. What you want is that it's not a thinkable thought. No one has to tell you to stop, because you won't start. If you circulate, let me make it personal. Having circulated in those parts of American culture in which the pretense of the authoritative figure is, we know what's what. We are the authorities. We articulate the governing ideas of this epoch. Then you, if you're a student around such people, which I was, I'm basically a working class kid, lifted up by chance and circumstance to go to Harvard and Yale and Stanford and all those places that I went to school. In those environments, you don't have a teacher who says, here's an idea or here's an argument. No, you have something else. You have a teacher who has been instructed by life to present whatever ideas he has as the authoritative dictum. They are it. When I was at Harvard, my teachers included Henry Kissinger. Okay, he doesn't speak about American foreign policy, about the way a professor of that might at X college, or I advise presidents. Why is that important? Because a student who is in opposition has a very high order of demand. You don't just have another idea. You've got to try at age 18, 19, 20 to package it the way this turkey does. He's got all of the bells and whistles. You know what I imagine this is like? A young Catholic seminarian in the Middle Ages, having come out of the village because somehow he does well in school. And now he's going to go into the priesthood and become a Monsignor and a Cardinal and eventually the Pope, right? As he rises through, he adjusts his tone. When he's a student, he's surrounded by these people with their tones. And when he's a Monsignor, and when he's a Cardinal, and by the time he's a Pope, he knows how to do Pope. He's been studying it all his life. And as he's been successful, it's a more rarefied atmosphere with its own lingo and its own style. So people like us have had early on to defend what we had to say and to try to do it against an unequal foe. And that meant we had to work really hard to become as articulate as we could, to learn to play the same games, drop the same names, refer to the same authors in the same clever manipulation, as if we knew more about them than we actually, all of that. You know, half of it's real, half of it's as phony as a $4 bill. We had to learn all that. And being oppositional, which I was already as a college kid, I fought with Kissinger over the Cuban Revolution, Castro. I thought Castro was wonderful. He hated him. Okay, so we had a problem. I was the only one in class who had that view, and I was the only one in class who said it. So he focused his upset on me. He didn't know that that was possible, that somebody up there at Harvard would think that Fidel Castro is a hero. So he wasn't prepared, which I enjoyed. And I understood, I enjoy this. And the students the other students couldn't get over the tennis match. You know, he hit the ball, I hit the ball. And he was losing it, getting angry. I didn't get angry, he got angry. So if a student can make the teacher angry, half the other students go with the student. I learned that lesson too. So I'm the product of all of that. And the articulation and the essay, I had to try to otherwise my beliefs, which were just emerging and just developing, would have been squashed. Kissinger set out to squash them. Or others. Kissinger just stands in. All the other professors was more or less the same. There were, very few serious dissenters from the consensus at Harvard. They preached a diversity of ideas. There was no diversity, which is why it was so comfortable to preach it. No risk of it. So I had to learn. And I think others in that situation learn. They have to. It's survival. If you can't come up with a well-articulated argument, you're going to look like what? And And you have to look in the mirror. You want to like what you see there. And what you're getting in the classroom is the most polished form, usually, of that kind of thing.